Welcome. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is episode 40 of Books and Bingos. This week we're recommending new February releases. So, Amanda, what's happening in February?
I think we have so much going on in February from, celebrating Valentine's Day or anti-Valentine's Day, whichever camp you fall into.
Or
Uh,
Galentine's Day.
yes, I love a good Valentine's Day. And then we also have Black History Month happening and President's Day, maybe? I'm trying to think of all the
Nothing
holidays we
yourself out.
celebrate.
Take the day off.
Yeah, it is a day. Well, for some people, I don't think I have the day off, but yeah, definitely lots happening in February, including awesome releases, which I'm excited to
Yes,
talk about.
yes. February is always book fair month for us at my school. So
Okay.
that's immediately what I think of when I think of February. And we usually ended up getting a long weekend in February too. So it's exciting. There's always just February goes by in the blink of an eye, I feel like, because it is so busy and there's so much going on.
And it's the shortest month. So,
That too. That too. All right, Amanda, tell us about your first pick.
so my first pick is a middle grade book by the moniker that I've given her, which is the middle grade queen, Barbara D. Her latest is called Tear This Down. We follow Freya, who lives in the small town of Wellstone. She didn't have a whole lot of friends because she definitely has a tendency to always say what's on her mind, regardless of what anyone says or thinks. But when a social studies project has her researching Benjamin Wellstone, the town founder, she learns that while he was an abolitionist, he also had many problematic views and thoughts on women and their right to vote. So this spurs Freya into research mode, and with the help of her new friend and an awesome librarian, which was my favorite part, they learn about suffragists, particularly a local one named Octavia Paget. Wanting to tear down the town statue of Wellstone and replace it with one of Paget, Freya is met with lots of obstacles that are in her way to try to right the wrongs of the past. A lot of people are unhappy with her idea to tear down their town founder's statue. So she struggles with keeping her firm in her convictions while everyone seems to be against her fight. So D is just a gift to the middle grade community. I believe that like everything she writes is so important and topical and resonates with our students. Her last one, Unstuck, dealt with what happens when like obstacles come in our way in regards to like writer's block. In that case, we also had a cli-fi, climate fiction novel before that with Haven Jacobs. And I just think that she is just right on the nose of what is happening with middle grade kids. And I love that she usually centers it around strong female characters. This one could be, I mean, like this book has my whole heart. And you could do lots of different things with this in the classroom, from research skills, like teaching research skills, to utilizing your local librarian. We have activism, feminism, challenging gender stereotypes, and fighting for women's rights. So I believe that this one is going to be a hit. I think it's a great one to have discussions with your class about. This title releases February 25th. Content warnings for dementia, misogyny, and sexism. The bingo squares would be 2025 release, female author, and women from history.
This sounds like a dream book. I mean, it hits like all the key points that I would love to see the kids exposed to, especially
Absolutely.
like with the research, with voting, with feminism. I love it all. I love it all.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, this just hits on so many different levels. And I love that in the book, the main character, Freya, she does not like that her mom has a knitting club. Like she doesn't want anything to do with that. Whereas like her best friend, who's a boy, is really, really interested in joining it. So I just love that, it's tackling a lot of those gender stereotypes that are still prevalent in our society, but that kids are really pushing the norms on. So
Good for them.
yes.
All right, my first pick is called Crumble by Meredith McClaren and Andrea Bell. This is a middle grade magical realism graphic novel. It's short, sweet. The kids are going to eat this up, pun fully intended. Our main character can bake her feelings into the food that she makes with her family's magic. So she likes to help people when they need a little bit of courage or happiness, but she soon makes a discovery that she should not be baking when she has negative feelings. She has a very sudden traumatic loss with her aunt passing away in a car accident, and all of those emotions and grief gets baked into the food and it gets kind of spread around to people she loves, and it has a very negative effect. This book was a fairly sad book for me because the aunt, I mean, the accident happens like on page. You get to know the aunt a little bit. It kind of seems like it comes out of nowhere, but it's just such a good book, and it's a beautiful metaphor about living with grief and working through your feelings in general while also not letting it kind of contaminate everything, if you will. I really liked this one. I liked all the food descriptions. There was even some recipes in here that sound amazing. And my students love two things, Raina Telgemeier and cookbooks. And this is kind of like a lovely little baby of both. So I think this is really going to be great for the kids who like the Raina Telgemeier books. Content warnings for death of a loved one, grief, and a fatal car accident. This also comes out on February 25th, and this will work for 2025 release and a female author.
The cover looks just like a book that our kids would die for. Like it definitely has Raina Telgemeier vibes to it. And yeah, food. The food graphic novels, like you could pair it with Yummy, the history of desserts. I think that would be so cute to do a fiction, nonfiction unit with. And just I love that graphic novels are being released so often now, and we can just eat them up. Like honestly, like there's new ones every month that I am so excited for, and that's what our kids like to read. So that's really exciting.
Yes.
All right. My second one is The Meadowbrook Murders by Jessica Goodman. This is a YA dark academia thriller. It's going to be right up Rachel's alley. So Amy wakes up after a night of partying for senior week, only to find her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend have been brutally murdered in their shared room at the elite private school that they both attend. So on one side of the campus, Liz, she hears about the case and breaks the story as the editor in chief for their school paper. So we have Amy waking up to this horror show that happened while she was sleeping. And then we have Liz, this investigative journalist that is looking to make a name for herself. The eyes start to turn to Amy as potentially the killer. And so Amy does not like Liz, Liz does not like Amy, but they decide to team up together to get answers about what happened that night. And I feel like this one very much had the Agatha's vibe to it, which I absolutely loved. Lots of times, when we have two characters that don't get along that are paired together for a common goal, usually there's some sort of like humor involved, and this has a little bit of that because it is still dark academia thriller. But I love Jessica Goodman in general. I think that she has her finger on the pulse of what kids want to read, and she just kills the dark academia vibes every single time. I loved the dual perspectives in this one because I would want to finish Amy's chapter and it has like a cliffhanger, but then you're thrown right into Liz's chapter, and then Liz's chapter has a cliffhanger. And so it just really kept me reading. I read it in one sitting. So I think the kids are really going to enjoy this one when it releases on February 4th. Content warnings would be blood, emesis, death, murder, violence, alcohol, classism, and parental abandonment. The bingo squares would be female author, 2025 release, mystery, and there is a little bit of romance.
This definitely kind of gives me vibes of the book I read a little while ago by Mindy McGinnis. The what was
Long
that called?
stretch, long
Long
stretch of
Stretch of
bad
Bad
days.
Days.
Yes.
Yes. Where like two girls from kind of opposite sides team up to solve the murder. Yes. And I love that one. So yeah, this sounds great.
Yeah, I was like, as soon as I read it, I was like, This is right up Rachel's alley. Like she loves the dark academia thriller vibes and it had
Especially with a
all of them.
podcast. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, for sure. All right, my second one is called The Kiss Bet by Ingrid Ochoa. This is a YA romantic graphic novel. Our main character, Sarah, just turned 18, but she's never been kissed. Enter her best friend forever, Patrick, in the kiss bet, which turns out horribly, as not only does she get rejected by this stranger, but she turns out to be the neighbor of this guy, and he ends up being her tutor. So it's just kind of a train wreck. But love is in the air. We end up with some crazy love shaped situations going on in this book. And it's just so much, it's fun and it's light, and kids will enjoy this one. I think it's very relatable. They're all just, they all just fall in love and their crushes change and their feelings change all the time. I mean, it's as an adult, it seems kind of silly, but I was so invested in this that the volume one kind of collects like I think maybe the either the whole first season or maybe the half of the first season. I don't remember now. But I needed more. I wanted to know more of the story. So I went online, and within like 2 days, I read all four seasons. I think the last episode was like number 205, and I've caught all the way up because I am obsessed with this storyline. And it's just so funny. It's not what I thought I would get obsessed with, but I just had to know. It's real like slow burn, very like innocent. This would work in a middle school. It's just so cute, and I totally love it. But like I said, this is just volume one. You will be addicted. You will have to go find the webcomic and read more. The marketing team sold it as To All the Boys Before meets Pumpkinheads, and I definitely get those vibes from it. This also comes out on February 25th. Squares would be 2025 release, romance, and female author.
I'm just like dying to read this. Like Rachel's has been talking it up for a while, so I'm like all in on this book. Or like series, I guess, because I'm sure if I read the first one, it's gonna be I need to mark some time for myself to finish the rest of it.
I'm obsessed. That tab was still open. So when I got on to do my podcast notes, I saw it and I actually went back and started rereading some of it. So like I am like
Stop.
fully invested in this web series. All right, and those are our recommendations for the week. If you have questions, suggestions, or comments, reach out on social media at Books and Bingos or email us at booksandbingos@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week when we'll be recommending romance titles. Happy reading! I forgot we have to record the other one again.
I was just gonna say,
But that's okay.